its turnout is pretty.
And he's gone.
Please hold. Cue the music. And then the question is, does he know that he's not here? Nope, here he is.
Let me back in.
You did it again, but you're here now.
I did it again. Let me back in. So, and yeah, I hate moving to meetings, but thank you all for that. Oh, there we go. Now you'll see me. And so yeah, and it is. I've got back surgery tomorrow. That's the reason, right? That was the reference to Buddy's situation. So I just want to, and I do want to make one comment about that. I want to make this. I'm going to make this clear because this is a learning opportunity, and this is my. I got banged around at D1 college football for 4 seasons and then another 6 in the NFL. And I know I took a lot of abuse. This is my 7th orthopedic surgery. I hope my last. And but I think I'm pretty hip, pretty, thinking for a lay person, for a guy with a liberal arts degree, I think I know more than most about how muscles and stuff and injuries sort of work. But I learned something this week, and I think it's an important message. And that is, if you have numbness in any of your limbs, don't hesitate to see a doctor. In my case, it was my feet. As I stand here talking to you, I've got numbness in my lower back, my buttocks, my hamstrings, down on my feet. I don't say this at all because I'm looking for any sympathy. It's important to know I've been feeling this. I started feeling this way like 4 years ago, and it was sporadically. And I said I can fix this with stretching and all that self-talk, which which benefited me as a football player and a warrior that way, but it worked against me. It's really substantial. I mean, I've waited way too long to get evaluated by a neurosurgeon, and that's why he sent me for an additional nerve study test, which if you've ever had one, it's incredibly uncomfortable. It's like getting electrocuted for 2 hours while while the neurologist gathers information through a computer, how your muscles responding to these electrical charges. It's crazy. And I may have done irreversible damage to my nerves by simply procrastinating. And so I just want to encourage everybody, and they can do a nerve study of the upper body. It's usually one or the other, right? The nerves in your neck that innervate your hands. They want to make sure you don't, and it would be unlikely, but they want to make sure that I don't have Lou Gehrig's disease or any sort of or nervous system disease or MS or anything like that. So the nerve studies sort of has multiple functions, but they wanted to find out the condition of my nerves. I don't even know. I didn't even hear from my surgeon or my neurologist yet. But I do have this. It wasn't going to change the fact that I'm going to have surgery tomorrow morning. I've got a condition called spinal stenosis, and if this was your vertebra in your lower back, and by the way, the anatomy wise, your fists are roughly the size of the vertebra in your lumbar spine, and then nerves go down like this, and then they feed at different levels. They feed different muscles, and in this case, they feed my feet and hamstrings, and they're getting compressed. There's not enough room, here wise going down. So it's going to go in through the back and clear that out and hope for the best results. So I can get the feeling back, because I haven't been able to run. I can't run, can't feel my feet, get foot drop. But, I've been making all my fitness videos nonstop, in the last 4 years, more than 300 of them. But I stopped running at all a year and a half, 2 years ago. I stumble. It's terrible. And my upper body functions 100%. So I was just kind of been working around it. But it's not the best way to do it. And I'm a fitness professional. I'm telling you to be alert to those feelings, especially of numbness. So that's that. And thank you there's my surgeon calling me now, and I need to hit that airplane mode button, Wayne. I get the hang of it. And so we are entering the fourth quarter of the 12-week fitness challenge. Let's get to business. My job here, just for those, and I think Joni's new to this, so the way we set this up, super fast explanation, is 12 weeks is an interesting amount of time. If you're doing things right, if you've got some physical fitness and health goals, for example, to lose some scale weight, to lose the weight that registers when you jump on a scale, or to get a little more physically fit, boy, how do we measure physical fitness? I mean, how would I know that I was in better shape? Well, we did a test at the beginning. With everybody that participated in this, do 4 exercises that require 0 equipment, and everybody can do. And they were push-ups. How many push-ups could you do in a minute? Legit push-ups. I demonstrated the technique that I wanted of everyone. Same thing when it goes to a crunch sit-up. The third was a body weight squat. And again, I demonstrated and sent everybody a video on how I wanted that to look. It's not your way, it's my way. And then the fourth was burpees. And I demonstrated how you get all the way flat on the ground. You get all the way, you stand up, you clap, you jump off the ground and clap with your hands above your head, not out in front, but above your head. How many could you do in 3 minutes, right? That's it. And can we agree that if you are working out on a regular basis, eating a little better, sleeping a little better, being more mindful of and we went over this and we gave everybody a handout, more mindful of your physical fitness, can we agree that if you retest those 4 exercises, they don't need to be done in a row. You do see how many push-ups you can do in a minute. Let yourself completely recover. Take a drink of water, take a minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, I don't care. Then go and find out how many sit-ups you can do for like that. It's not a rush, but within each time frame, you want to do as many as you can in perfect form. And can we agree that 12 weeks later that you should do better? You should score better. That's measurable. And that's important. And that's a piece that's missing from an awful lot of physical fitness stuff. There's other things that we can do. There's no perfect way to calibrate or measure someone's level of physical fitness. This is certainly an incomplete measure of physical fitness, and certainly isn't qualified to be a measurement of health. But that's okay. It's a lot better than the way most people go through lives wondering if they're getting any better. And the only barometer that they have at all is maybe the way their clothes fit, which is okay, but that's one small thing. Can you actually produce more? Do you have a bigger motor, as we say, as athletes? Can you produce more squats? Can you produce more burpees? I guarantee you the person that can do more burpees in 3 minutes is more fit, and stronger, more physically fit people are more useful in general. And that's important. I mean, useful overall. I mean, you ever get a problem, where you ever got caught yourself in a bad spot at night in an unfamiliar setting alone, you're going to want the most useful person available to you to be, to be walking by. That would be best case scenario. And I think about that stuff all the time. I take a personal responsibility to be a useful man. Right. So, and I think physical fitness is a part of this, not to mention the fact that that people that are more physically fit or have greater cognition, the greater ability to think, to computate, to make sense of a difficult situation, to get stuff done in general. People that are physically fit, I make no bones about it. I will tell you that I visited 3 of my doctors last week. With this surgery, and when you have a surgery, you got to get a physical, you got to get some blood, you got to go see your doctors, so I'll tell you, in a dark alley, if I ran up against a group, and I would take any one of these, I'd be proudly, strongly taking any one of these 3 doctors to have my back. My neurosurgeon is 6'4", 240, and has 3 black belts in the martial arts. I like that about my neurosurgeon. Not bad. My family practitioner was a 3-time Big Ten champion at Michigan, wrestler at Michigan. So I like that too. And the other guys was an All-American water polo player in college, and fought professionally PKA, which was before the MMA, there was the PKA, Professional Kickboxing Association. He was a professional kickboxer. So, and I'm a magnet, and I find people. I find the most dependable, resourceful people. I like people that are doing all that stuff in their life. And I firmly believe that as intellectual as being a physician or a surgeon is, I know and I firmly believe that all of them are at the top of the top because of their commitment to their own personal physical excellence. That's my rant, Wayne. I'll stop there. So that's how the program works. We check in once every quarter. We're going into the fourth quarter. By the way, I want to make sure everybody understands that we are going to do the retest, and I want to talk to everybody about it. So everybody, I believe everybody took the test. Again, the four parts of the physical test, and then weigh yourself. And then, again, this isn't personal training. This is just me working with a group. And if I gave you some guidelines, I'm always available to answer questions regarding your training, your food. And I want everybody to eat a protein-centric diet. I've gone over that time and time again. The studies show not only is it important to feature dietary protein as the main macronutrient, but to the other side of the ledger to carefully manage carbohydrates, in particular simple carbohydrates. And just a very simple definition of that, the simple carbohydrates are the ones that have a high glycemic index, they're sugary, even though they don't necessarily sort of look like sugar. But the ones that bread, and aside from obviously sugar, but pasta, bread, rice, they're pretty high glycemic, especially bread and chips and that kind of stuff, which we don't get any nutritional value, and our body will break that down and turn it into sugar in our bloodstream, and use it that way. But if we don't use it, it gets easily stored as body fat. Conversely, when you eat dietary protein, eat a chicken breast or an egg, particularly the egg whites is all protein. Salmon has a little fat in there, but it's good. It's good omega-6 fat. But when you eat this way, when you eat a high protein diet, your body is reticent to convert dietary protein into fat, and to break it down into sugar, and to store it as fat. So it doesn't want to do that. It wants to. So we get the most value out of the dietary protein, and then that leaves the other category is dietary fats. So, wow, yeah. So is dietary fats? It's a more complex subject that I won't really get into now, but you've got different kinds of dietary fats. But dietary fats are, generally speaking, our friends. We know the ones that are a little bit better than the others. We know that, generally speaking, nuts and avocado, olive oil, things like that, those are the ones that we want to get our arms around. And so protein centric, make sure you're getting the good fats in your diet. And it seems like more and more that the type 2 diabetes tends to move just like this with obesity. And it just seems to be all connected through the way they continue to study this. It's connected to people who are eating a diet that's chock full of carbohydrates, and simple carbohydrates at that. So that's what we want to steer clear of, and that's it. So if you're eating that way, and I want everybody to retest, not everybody has a weight loss goal, so maybe you don't want. It's possible that you want to gain some weight and build some muscle. I also recommended that people, purely as an option, do a DEXA scan, DEXA scan, which is it's most typical function in the world is to measure bone density. A family doctor might send a patient there, particularly women, fair skin, fair eyes, fair hair, that would be more apt to have a soft bone issue, and that would record the density. But the DEXA scan is also a beautiful piece of equipment for very accurately measuring one's body composition. That's we'll just place it into two categories for argument's sake, and that's lean weight and fat weight. It's a pretty good way to do it. So fat weight is if we just cut all the fat off your body. Lean weight, so understand, is the combined weight of your skeleton. The average skeleton of a human being is, depending on your size, there's going to be something between like 16 and 24 pounds of bones, right? That's us. And then we've got blood, water weight, muscle, internal organs, all that. And the only one of that, like God, we certainly don't want the weight of our bones to, to move throughout our lifetime, and certainly the weight of our liver and heart or lungs, kidneys. We don't want it changes in the weight of those. But the thing that can change is the weight of your skeletal muscle. See, that's part of your lean weight. That's really the only one that can move. When I played in the NFL, I carried more skeletal muscle. I was younger, and it was a requirement to be a defensive end in the NFL to carry a certain amount of skeletal muscle. Don't need that at this point in my life. I still carry more muscle than others. I suspect maybe a few weeks after this surgery, I'm going to slow it down for probably 2-3 weeks in the weight room. I'll lose some of that skeletal muscle that I have, but I'll get it back. I carry skeletal muscle because it makes me strong, functional, useful, look better in a t-shirt, all those things. In case of an emergency, you want somebody with muscle, right? So I carry a modicum of that. It's hard work to do it, but everybody should be oriented towards, being strong throughout their life, so they can get out of a soft sofa, get off of to get off of the toilet without assistance. There, I think it's the second most. I'm an EMT. I never really used it as a profession, but I did go on some ambulance ride arounds, and I think it's the second most common reason that it might be one. The most common reason that people call 911. I need ambulance. I need help. I need ambulance. That's where they send over an EMT. For what? It's to get off the ground. It's seniors can't get off the ground. Why wouldn't you be able to get off the ground? It's because they're too weak. They can't do it. Get off the toilet. If you live alone, you can't get off the toilet. You can't live alone anymore. Right? You're going to have to go to an assisted living home. And it's a very, very common reason why people lose their independence as we age. It's an uncomfortable conversation, but it's extremely important. It's grown-up stuff, right? That's what I'm grown up. So it's about the end of my rant, why training this way. And I'll circle back around and say to retest on the physical challenge is very important. And I hope that everybody's on board with that. And even if, the workouts and the eating didn't really feel like they quite went your way for whatever reason, I think you should retest. And by the way, we've got, I think, Wayne, for about 3 or 4 weeks to go anyway. And you could put a dent in this thing big time anyway in 4 weeks. So I want everybody to retest. Again, this is your business. It's not my business how many push-ups you can do in a minute. It's your business how many burpees you can do in 3 minutes. I'm just here to coach this thing along and tell you why it's so darn important. That's your business. You keep that to yourself. If you would like to share that with people in the group because you think that that's a good thing, makes you, maybe puts a little self-pressure on you, I think it could be a good motivator. Go ahead and do that. But I'm not going to ever ask you how many crunches could you do? How many did you improve? But if you'd like to share that, that's great. Do that. I mean, I lived my whole life as an athlete when we were all competing against each other. Everybody knew where everybody else stood. Like how fast you could run a 40-yard dash. It's a very important statistic in football, how much you could bench press. Everybody knew each other's business like that all the time. But it was a great way to improve each other. So it's nice to do things as a group. That's why football players work together so well. They know how to handle people in a group. This is a group exercise, but I do understand that some of this stuff is quite personal. I would never ask anybody for their DEXA numbers, their body fat percentage, lean weight versus fat weight. But they wanted to share that with me and have a discussion about that. Great. I think everybody should do a DEXA scan, by the way, and share that with their doctor. Although there's plenty of first-line doctors out there that don't know what to do with the information, unfortunately. So I'd like to field any questions. I want to make this meeting exactly as long as it needs to be, not a minute longer. You people are important, have important stuff to do. So I'll answer questions. And beyond that, you know where I stand. I want to see everybody in 4 weeks. I want to retest. I'll send, I posted part 3 of my 4 motivational videos. Man, this movie does it for me. Just so if you hadn't seen Vision Quest, this movie came out in the 80s, late 80s. And it is No question. It's very much borrowed from Rocky. Rocky's one of the great movies ever made. It's just one of the greatest movies ever made, and it's obviously about kind of a down and out professional boxer. Vision Quest is about an 18-year-old senior in high school wrestler who. But there's a love story, which I didn't really use clips from the love story. I wanted to focus on what this wrestler was trying to do and what he did attempt to do, because he made a pact with himself that he wanted to wrestle the greatest wrestler in the history of the state of Washington, the greatest high school wrestler, 3-time state champion, undefeated wrestler. And Loudon Swain, our protagonist, wanted to made a pact that he would wrestle and challenge himself by finding out who's the toughest wrestler in the state ever. And the kid's a senior too. But to wrestle him, he needed to drop 2 weight categories, 18 pounds. And he had to do it in, I think it's a month. I think he did it in the movie in a month, which is possible. But really unimaginably difficult. But he did it, and so this scene that I posted today was our star Loudon Swain preparing. He's above average wrestler, but he's not a champion. But he's preparing for the biggest wrestling match of his life against Brian Shoot. And anyway, that's why I posted that, and then in a couple of weeks I'll post the finale of that. Just Vision Quest, a movie that I love to pieces. So. That's my other passion, right? So it's fitness and movies. So that's that.
I pulled up on the screen. I don't know if you can see it or not, Pete, but
yeah,
this is the post in the group. The other thing I looked up, everybody, is we have a final call scheduled with Pete on July 8th. So technically July 1st would be the end of our period here. Of the sprint period. So July 1st is the end, July 8th is a final call, and I'll send some emails about retesting and posting in the group. And I want to help us all finish strong. And I think it's a lot of times where this 12-week period or 90-day period is used in a lot of business books, this sprint concept, because for sure, we tend to get more done in the last month than the first 2 months. Like that, it's humans, we're like that. Like, oh shit, we're gonna do this retest thing, and if I look back at my scores, I'm probably not gonna do any better right now. So maybe I'm gonna kick it into gear now, right? I don't know. Maybe I'm the only one, but a lot of us operate that way. Sean's smiling. So yeah, we'll work to finish hard. And my plan is Joni has it set up in MailChimp where we have a tagged email list so that I can, thanks Tersh, I can send some emails out more frequently. And that's what I'm planning to do, is get in your email inbox a little bit more to keep you on track and share some things and keep us all going together. So we'll do that. And Pete, Tersh put something in the chat that I thought was a good question. I think it would be on people's minds, and then we can roll into other questions. Maybe some wins too. It'd be good to hear like what kind of wins people have had. But Tersh's question, pertinent or related to your back surgery, was, do you think if you hadn't worked out as hard that you wouldn't that the back problems would be better, right? Did your working out or any aspect of it, in hindsight, worsen the back injury, do you think?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's one I've considered. I just got a little bit more history on me very quickly. Is I had back surgery in 21 years ago. So in 2000, I had a fusion with cages, titanium cages at my very, very low part in the lower back, L5S1, which is lumbar 5. It goes like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that. You've got 5 lumbar spine with 12 thoracic spine and 5 cervicals, like that. It goes, and you count that way. And then S1, which is your sacrum, you've got S1 and 2, two sacrum bones. Anyway, too much information. And I had that very lowest part of my back fused together because it was an instability that I had developed. Why? Probably a lot of football and a lot of heavy squatting. And so in 21, I was having a different sort of pain. I didn't have numbness with that injury. I had pain, and it fixed it. And I really went along really good for about 16, 17 years and until about the last 4 years. And then it bit by bit in the last 6 months, it's really accelerated. Now I have different symptoms. And as everybody sort of knows who follows me, is like, I've been lifting weights and running and living life physically, with not holding anything back, not doing anything I don't want to do, and working hard to keep my body strong. And blah, blah. What if I had, and that included squats and some things that you could say, wow, that puts a lot of force on your spine. True. There's a lot of different ways to deadlift. I don't really do traditional deadlifts, but Romanian deadlifts and some stiff-legged deadlift variations. I've been doing all these years, loading my spine, pressing overhead. So there's compressional forces when you're pressing overhead. So I've been doing all that. And I'm glad that I was doing that. If I had done less of that, would I maybe have avoided the situation I'm in right now? My surgeon said it's really impossible to know for sure, but probably would have extended the life. It's because I had a fusion at L5S1 that it placed additional, because when that's fused together and it couldn't give anymore, it's a physics problem, Wayne, right? It placed more stress on the joint above, right? It had to go someplace. That the force has to go someplace, and that's what it did. And it eventually wore at that joint. I also probably am looking at a disc replacement on that level. It's going to be a separate surgery. But I did create a lot of trauma in the two levels of discs above, probably because of the way I've been training. Would I do it over again? No. Do I plan on making some changes moving forward? Yes. But listen, so in 7 months I'll be 60. So, and I don't think I've been as good as I could have been. I think I could have been more agile with my training, a little more, a little bit available to adjust. Yeah. But I don't know. It's a hard line, because I've liked the way I don't like the surgery now, but I think I'm going to get a good result. But I don't want to give up much. I don't want to bend much. There's too much of people giving. Oh, you know what? I used to lunge, but it hurts my knees now, so I don't lunge anymore. Well, you got a flat butt. You don't have any development. You're weak as could be. How old are you again? Oh, you're 34. Oh, so when you decide, okay, so that's the move. What else do you not do anymore? I don't press overhead because I don't want to hurt my shoulder. And you're in your 20s or 30s or 40s. What? That's how you end up with what we got. Such a massive portion of the population is not only overweight, but weak. I mean, really underpowered. I mean, really physically weak. What in the world happened? So I certainly wasn't going to react reflexively to a pain and start throwing all of these great exercises out the window. I might have been a little bit late, a little bit slow to react, but I'm going to take care of that now. And I'm excited about what's around the bend for me once I get this fixed.
It's an interesting subject. My grandfather, who is 86, and was you guys have heard me talk about him. He was a coal miner when I was a kid, farmer. He's had 2 or 3 back surgeries, and it's probably partially because he has physically worked so hard in his life. But he's 86, and up until 2 years ago, he was working at the lumber yard, and up until probably 8 years ago, he was able to load doors into the truck. Like, he was a strong man. He's just always been a strong man, and I don't think he regrets it at all. Like, he wanted to go get fixed. And he was hoping it wouldn't kill him. The last one was really dicey because he's had other surgeries, and because he was 85 when he had it, but was like, hey, Al, there's a 10% chance you're going to die. And he's like, I don't care. I can't live without being able to walk and work and do the things I like to do. And he, in our family, we're all like, we wouldn't want Pops to not get the surgery, like, because that's his life. So it's on the other hand, my father climbed a tree setting tree stands and was being reckless, fell out of the tree, almost died, and he had back surgery to put it all back together. That was probably dumb. Like that was, yeah, but things happen, right? So there's like for me, I want to do things to, now I've drilled through my hand. So when I say that my dad's stupid, like it's runs in the family, we all do it together. But I want to minimize the risk of something like that, like an accident. I certainly want to minimize that, but I want to personally, if my trail running results in surgery when I'm 70 some and I got to run now and be stronger, like I would trade that. I'm good with that, I guess. So that's an interesting question. Like delaying physical fitness of so that I don't get injured. I don't know. That's just an interesting thing to think about.
This is slightly a reach to make this comment. It's a different topic, but I think you'll get the point. It was Winston Churchill, rather successful human being in history. I think one of the greatest men that ever lived, myself. Somebody asked him when he's still alive all those years ago, do you think that maybe you drink too much? And he said, my drink has given me more than it's taken away. Strength training, my commitment to strength training has given me more than it's taken. I'm good with that. I'm going to take that all the way. All the way. Yeah. Out of my cold, what did Heston say? Out of my cold, wet hands. That's the only way you're getting it away from me. Strong men are meant to do strong shit. All the way. And every strong thing you can think a man can do with his muscles, his brain, all of it. We're meant to do it.
And women too. Business Builder Camp is women.
100%. 100%. Figure speech. But absolutely. And when it's strong, it's like the will, it's like the will. Like there's just, what is it? I heard the quote was people, these quotes get misassigned, but I read it was Lucille Ball, who, by the way, was a super achiever, probably probably achieved more than any woman in the history of Hollywood, I think. She had her own studio. Come on. And she said, if you absolutely need to get something done, give that assignment to the busiest person you know. It's about how it works. So just keep going. It's hard.
Hey, who else has a question or win, something to celebrate? Let's see that. Who has a question? Just get through questions if you had something you wanted to work through today. So we'll do questions, wins, and how about commitments for the next 12 weeks? So we can roll that way. Any questions? First, Sean, Andy dropped out for a moment.
I had a dietary question. When you were talking about dietary carbs, I feel like the protein I'm pretty good at, but my carbs, it's rice, some pasta. Like what are top 5 dietary carbs that you're gonna go for?
Yeah. Are you on Instagram, Sean? If anybody,
I'm not. I stalk my wife's page. I could.
Okay. Well, I got to follow for you, and it'll flip your lid. It'll flip your lid. And I love this guy because he's putting him. He's leading from the front, and he's a true scientist. And I'll explain that in a second. But the carnivore what's his handle? The carnivore doctor, carnivore doctor, carnivore and carnivore MD. Guy's in his 30s. He's a medical doctor and carnivore meat. All he eats is meat. I ain't lying. I mean, all he eats is meat. All, only meat. And he's ripped and he's jacked and he's strong. And he's just like, he looks like NFL wide receiver, just sinewy, ripped, and he's super functional. And he's a scientist, and he does his blood lipids like every week. I think he does, and his numbers are crazy. But he doesn't believe that LDL is going to harm you at all. His LDL is off the chart, but it's just nonsense. It's all nonsense. So what you want to do is you want to eat meat. So and he's an extreme example. And if he heart blows up anytime soon, he's going to be on national TV. I mean, guy puts himself out there every single day and he's that way. And he's like, I don't what when he started this experiment years ago, he thought he should maybe have some mix in some salad or something, but he's determined that doesn't need it, doesn't like it, doesn't need it, doesn't have a real function for him. And by the way, he's really, again, he's way out there. And I'm not saying that I'm right in his corner, but, and then you might even say, well, what about his fiber? There's actually fiber in meat. There's fiber in red meat. He only eats red meat, doesn't eat chicken or anything. But there's fiber in there, and he doesn't have any problem there. So it's interesting. So, we kind of talk ourselves into, and I do the same, I need a little carbs, man. What do you think would be lesser of the, just don't eat carbs. Just don't eat any of that stuff. I still am subscribing to green food. I think vegetables and I think some of that roughage has its place. I'm still a traditionalist when it comes to that, but I'm not gonna. I have nothing to say about bread. I do eat bread. I eat some bread, but I eat a very dense nut bread, all kinds of nuts and seeds in it, nuts and seeds, and the pieces are small and it's dense, and that's me. That's where I feel good, because I like the fact that I'm getting some good fats out of that bread. So.
What about sweet potatoes? Aren't they supposed to be like a complex carb or something?
Yeah. So that fits nicely right into the category of a more complex or slow burning. The glycemic index I find is useful. It's complicated, and because it's hard, you just kind of got to memorize. It's not a big deal, but you could just Google it. And so what they do is they burn food and they figure like how many is it more like just carbs, not fats and proteins, and is it more apt to be like sugary? And it's on a scale of, I think, 100. It's like a weird scale. It's like 0 to 127 or something. And then like table sugar is way up, like 120, right? That's like the standard of a high glycemic index food, like white sugar. And then way at the bottom would be like kale. I think it's something in the 30s or 40s. And so the beauty of that is, like if, and things like what is it? Honeydew is got a real, like, it kind of makes sense, right? It's sweet and it's got a very high glycemic index. So a very like certain fruits, their sugar content glycemic index number is very similar to candy. Somebody years ago they did this really interesting study, and they went out and they bought a protein bar. This is 15 years ago, and they bought a protein bar. Oh, it's a protein bar. And then they bought a Snickers bar and they put them side by side, and the nutrition was really close. It was really, really similar, except for a few grams. Yeah, the protein bar had a few more grams of dietary protein, but the sugars were way up there. So that's the dirty little thing about protein bars. Over the years, they've gotten really much better by what? People are more hip to go, and the first thing your eyes ought to go to is total carbs, and then how much of those carbs come from sugar, right? So Yeah, so I'm all about. I do think yams and sweet potatoes. I think their nutritional content is very similar. It is a good choice for me. The carnivore MD wouldn't eat that stuff, but you know, and he's on to something. But I'm doing something a little bit more balanced, but controlling. I should say I call it a protein centric diet, and that's just the term that I like. I didn't read it anywhere. I like it. I like centric, and but I maybe should say I think I should want people to aspire towards a carbohydrate controlled, very controlled. It just doesn't roll off the tongue, But those are the two things I want everybody to do: is emphasize dietary protein and really limit your carbs and see if you can justify the carbs that you're eating. Particularly if you're a little bit overweight, and particularly if you have any problem with your blood sugar. Like I just did a fasting glucose test, and and the genetics plays a huge role in that too. Some people, some of us just really control sugar well, and others of us don't, and we're born with it. So that's important too. And carb is the factor there in that resting glucose number, which is like a biomarker for type 2 diabetes. That's on your radar.
Jack Jostis's question that he asked me to ask you, and then I see Andy unmuted. Jack's question was, how often, so you gave us the major muscle groups, and we should design a workout using some of your exercises on making you better 30 seconds at a time to hit all the major muscle groups. And there's the option of doing it full body workout like I've been doing, or break it into two where it's certain muscle groups one day and certain another day. And so Jack's question was, how often should he change up those exercises? So if he comes up with a routine with hits all the major muscle groups, and I know he started to do the longer rest in between sets now.
Yeah.
How often should he go to the deck, so to speak, and pick different cards and change the exercises up?
That's a great question. I don't think, like I like to say, I think it's useful to say, people to hear, that there's no perfect exercise, it's not a perfect meal, but all we can do is aspire for excellence. And in terms of excellence, I think you should, and again, it's easy to say, I've been picking up heavy stuff and putting it back down and repeating that for 43 years now. So I have a lot of experience doing it and understanding my body. And I know that most people don't have that, aren't able to kind of just do the calculus in their head just by the way they're feeling and stuff. So to give a number, I would say every other month of 8 weeks or 10 weeks, it would be reasonable to say. The main reason that we want to mix things up, and I'll give you two big fat reasons, but the main reason from our body standpoint is a thing called neurological adaptation, which is to say, we think about our muscles doing all the work. Yeah, they do the heavy lifting, but what makes the muscles work is our nervous system, which is defined as our brain innervating our spinal cord, and then coming down and innervating the smaller network of nerves, and then they hit the switches and turn the muscles on. Right? Muscles don't push and pull; they contract or relax. That's it. That's the only way. That's the only thing that they can do: contract and relax. But all that's controlled by the central nervous system. And so this thing called neurological nervous system, neurological adaptation, says your body gets a little bit sick of that exercise. And if you tried something, in fact, you think of it this way: like if you ever tried to walk on a balance beam, or if you were pretty good at that, you tried to walk on a tightrope. Like I can walk on a balance beam, but I don't think I could walk on a tightrope right now. I just never practiced it. But we could all learn how to do it. And once you learn how to do it, you're probably going to be able to do it a long time, kind of like riding a bicycle. And that's a perfect example of neurological adaptation. Your brain and nervous system learned something pretty cool. That's what your brain wants to do, because it makes it easier for us to do it the next time. It's efficiency. And then when you're doing a certain exercise and your body gets efficient at it, maybe that's around the time to try something new. So your brain is going to work in a different way, a little struggle, and get those switches going a little bit different, and have that trickle down effect, make your muscles work a little harder and improve.
Andy,
12 weeks.
Yeah, I just wanted to share maybe a couple things and then also ask a question. So it's been a good, I guess, session for me. I've had some good success with losing some weight, got some inches gone around the belly section. So, but I was hiking with my sons over the weekend in the mountains, and we had a real good time. But he brought, my oldest is in the Marine Corps. He brought a bunch of MREs, which is the meals ready to eat that they have in the military, and he bought a bunch of those, and they're like really carb based and sugar based, except for like one little tiny piece of meat or a little bit of meat in it, because I mean, I guess that's cheaper or easier to carry. But so I kind of basically we were getting rid of all the sugar, or I got rid of all the sugar stuff, and then I was left with like one little piece of sausage and like one little piece of meat. So I had a really hard time hiking this weekend, because I'm 44, and they're 21. But so I was like, man, I'm the old man trying to keep up. But I think it was really a lot more because of the carbs, and I was like wondering, okay, was this the wrong diet? Should I be like sucking down some Gatorade or drinking more sugar, or maybe I'm just not used to it. But anyway, that was part of my question. I mean, I do feel really good though. That's the thing about it. I feel great, except when you're doing that strenuous exercise like that, like 10 miles of hiking can really add up.
Yeah, several thoughts go through my mind when I hear that. I mean, I have seen the literature that suggests that if you're in the endurance business like that versus the strength business like us, that you can do fine, maybe thrive with less protein and more carbs. I'm indifferent about that, and I frankly don't know that much about it. I'm just not really in the endurance business. I'm in the physique enhancement, get stronger business, and most everybody I work with are. I mean, I suggest everybody, if you're not sure, get in my club, get with me. So you're not going to wish, if you're 90 something and you're struggling to get off the toilet, you're not going to wish you did a few more Peloton sessions. No, you're going to wish you could lunge and squat and your core was strong. That's what you're going to wish. I guarantee you. And so I'm living for that place. I'm living for that time. I'm preparing for that. And I'm also preparing food wise for that. I'm really comfortable with the information that I'm using to eat a high protein diet. And in my world, where I talk to people every day, I'm the nosiest mother sucker. Hey, so all my, and by the way, I don't waste my time talking to people that have a physique that I have no admiration for. And by the way, do not hire a personal trainer unless they have a physique that you admire and respect, for God's sake. Would you trust your money to a financial advisor who was broke ass? My little rant, sorry. But when I talk to my friends, as many females as males, and I say, you look great. Sincerely, you got a show coming up, a contest. Yeah, what are you eating? What's going on? Can I ask you how many grams of dietary protein you're eating? And what kind of fats do you feel like help you arrive at this incredible physique that you have? Those are the people I'm talking to. Not, let's go do yoga and take a 5-hour hike. I'm not interested in that. I can do a lot
Finally,
more. If you
both.
give me 5 hours with somebody and a weight, I'll change their life.
Hey, Tersh, 4 minutes. Got any questions?
No, I asked them along the way. So, good, appreciate it.
Good, good.
Joni, do you got any questions?
No questions.
I do have one. That Carnival MD, is that the name of the guy?
Carnivore,
Carnivore
Like-
MD.
like carnivore.
Okay.
Yeah, like the meat
Okay.
eater.
Just want to verify that.
I think that's it. Carnivore MD.
Yeah, I looked him
Yeah.
up. That's what it is. Yeah.
He's got dark hair, dark wavy hair guy. Yeah.
You know, Pete, what I love about you and why I want to follow you is what I hear when you say I've been picking heavy stuff up, putting it back down and repeating for the last 40 years or something like that. That was my Pete bomb for the day. There's always something I get out of you that like sticks with me, and that's the one for the day. And it's I pick things up and I put them down. I can remember that. And I what strikes me, Pete, is like you're very intuitive about your working out. Like we would say, it's an intuitive workout. It's and you're intuitive about your food and your eating too. Like you kind of know, you remember what's in certain amounts of chicken and or a sweet potato or whatever. You like kind of know your macros. You're like aware, you know what's going on, but you also don't let it dominate you and rule your life in some way. It's you have freedom around these things. You love working out, you go to the gym and you know roughly what you're going to do. It's you've just really integrated it in your lifestyle. And that's what I love. And the thing, Andy, like that I would say is like, if I were on a hike with my kids, I would eat the damn sugar and everything, because why wouldn't you? Like it's MREs, it's fun. I'd go hiking and I'd have freedom around that for a couple days. It's not going to hurt, and then get back on the protein bandwagon when I get back home. And that's intuitive and that's freedom. And so like Jack, I love Jack to death, and some people need this. Ask a lot of very specific questions, and I think they're helpful. Like, what's the right way? What's the wrong way? And you're more like, hey, here's the muscle groups. We go to the gym. I know some exercises. I know roughly how to do it. Like I take a minute in between. I do, this many reps. You just like show up and you wear shorts with a belt. I was like bust on you about that. Like go work out, shorts and a belt.
It's practical.
It's practical.
It's practical. I got pockets. I can put stuff.
That's what
in
I
there.
love about how you roll. It's intuitive.
It's my lifestyle. It's how I walk around. It's like that's right. I don't have to. I can just. I don't do this as much as I used to but I know I'm going to reclaim this once I get my back fixed. But there was many years that I let's go to my trunk in my car right now. I got a pair of running shoes in there, and so at any moment. I can just pull over to a park and it doesn't matter what, I wear shorts. Listen, I live in LA. The weather's always friendly for shorts. And I can always grab her and find something to run and back to that. I don't need a big plan. I don't plan. I don't get dressed up to go to the gym, nothing like that. I just go. It's functional, it's useful. And if I've got an hour and 15 minutes to work out, great. I'm gonna enjoy that hour and 15 minutes. I'll do a little more socializing, commiserating with my friends. And other times I know I'm like, I got 35 minutes. I'm just gotta go in there and hit it, get the most out of it. There's nothing right or wrong about that. There's no perfect workout. There's just doing it or not. Just doing it. Like of course. Well, it's of course. How utterly disrespectful it would be to my own body, to my God's gift to me, to not take care of it. It's a very important concept. It's a very important thing that we're respectful with things that are. Would you be disrespectful to like treat your money like without care? And what? It's important not only for yourself and your family. You've got things, and it's a responsibility. It's a great responsibility. We're grown-ups. but look, and I have no problem saying things like that because you know that I spend 98% of my time being positive and enjoying this and having and enjoying the physical fitness, having fun with it. I posted about a new fitness invention. I'm a part of a brand new company. It makes my heart sing that I'm going to be able to help people with an inexpensive fitness product. And I live for that. And I have I have fun. And that's one of the reasons that I don't have to talk myself into going to the gym. And I've got, by the way, I have a great training partner. That probably 80% of the time I work out with a training partner. And by the way, one thing about training partners I want people to know is if you can find somebody to go to the gym with you, for God's sake, go. You don't have to do the same exercise. Sometimes training partners, sort of act in lockstep. Say, what are we going to work on today? Let's do this. Okay, we'll do the bench press first, and then we'll go over and then we'll do pull downs. That's fine. I never do that with my training partner. We just go there either together or meet each other there. And then we put our headphones on and go in different directions. But I don't know, somehow it makes the thing better. I just found that system works for me. And we check in with each other. And then and by the way, that's a big part of my social life and my network. I know it's not going to be that way for other people, but she goes over here and she talks to somebody. And then she comes by me and she goes, oh, did you see Dave? Because he was looking for you. He's up in the front. That's just kind of a part of my life. And I really enjoy that. I've built that into my life that way. But I just want to make it very clear, like, one of my best friends, my age, super fit guy, very successful business guy. And he built a home gym, 20 years ago. And he works out alone 5 days a week. He's got a TV in there. I go, what do you watch? 6 o'clock in the morning. I like to watch ESPN. Okay, fine. Bum, bum, bum. And it works for him. Great. You just find what works for you. Everybody's built wired different. I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that. Work out alone in the garage. I'm not interested in that, but I find what works for me.
So, hey, Pete, thanks for doing this for us. Everybody.
Oh, I see. We're running. I just looked at the clock.
We're a couple minutes over. But everybody go get it. Last month, we'll meet up again in July.
Have a great fourth quarter. It's never too late to make some great gains. Make some great gains. Make it with important decision and work out. Be mindful and purpose in what you're doing, eating and working out.
All right.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Pete.
Go get them.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks. Bye.